On today's episode of Andy and Ari on 3, is the Associated Press poll broken? We'll find out. Also, we dive into On3's new Megaboard. Those are the best message board threads from across the network. We got a really interesting Bryce Underwood conversation. Also, South Carolina fans wondering how much they should be worried about Vanderbilt this week, and a really interesting USC stat. Talk about all of that and more on today's episode of Andy and Ari on 3. We are presented by BetMGM, and if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB as in college football, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app and you sign up using the bonus code CFB. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code CFB when you sign up. And if you've already signed up, they've got some goodies for you this week. So Friday and Saturday, September 12th and September 13th, got the college football parlay boost token. No matter where the college football action is, there's nothing like getting in the game and leveling up your next parlay. Use this parlay boost token to boost your potential payout from a winning college football parlay. Also, Friday and Saturday, got a college football odds boost token. It's time to zero in on every snap. Activate your odds boost token on any college football bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Good luck this weekend. You can fade me. You can follow me. You can fade Ari. You can follow Ari. Last week, you should have followed me. Should have faded Ari. Does it flip this week? We'll find out. But make this college football season 1 for the history books. Make it legendary with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, and it's time to vote in our poll. Is the AP poll broken? It's a question we ask because the AP poll was very much in the news on Tuesday. So we got done with our show, and this was just starting to burble beneath the surface. And Tuesday afternoon, evening, it kind of exploded out. So Haley Sawyer, who covers USC for the Orange County Register, is a voter in the AP poll. She did not rank USF this week, and in fact moved Florida up 2 spots this week. Now that is strange because USF and Florida played last weekend, and USF beat Florida in Gainesville 18-16. Ari, we've both been AP poll voters. I think I know what happened here. Do you think you know what happened here?
I'm pretty sure I know what happened here. Well, me and you were AP poll voters in different times, all right? Like when you were an AP poll voter, were you at SI and as a national writer?
I was at SI. I was 2009 to 2013, I believe, were the years, or maybe 2009 to 2014. And yes, I was a national writer at the time. So I was paying attention to the entire landscape. It wasn't like when I was a beat writer, when I was only covering one team, which is how you did it, because you were covering Ohio State at the time.
Yeah. So here's the thing. When you're covering a single team, like I believe Haley does, right? She's a USC beat writer. Think about what you do throughout the course of a day on Saturday covering a single team. You get to the game 3 hours early. You maybe walk around downstairs, get color, try to figure out what's,
right. Your job is to know the inner workings of that specific team, and everybody else is not really relevant to your job performance.
When I was covering Ohio State and they had a home game, I was on Ohio State duty for 10 hours that day. You get there, you're not sitting in the press box just watching other games. Sometimes you're able to check it out, but like you were doing stuff. What recruits are on the sideline? Who's here? Who's interacting? What is any like pre-game color on the sidelines? What are fans, thinking? Like I was constantly like in that world. And it was very hard to be on top of all the moments. It's really hard now, even when we're home, Andy, to be on top of everything all the time, right? And Twitter has evolved a lot in the 10 years since I've done this. So, you're more able to keep up with what people are talking about in the moment, but you're in a bubble, especially on road games when you're covering that team. You've got a flight to catch, you're traveling, you got the parking pass, you're doing a lot of stuff. So from this standpoint, I understand how a person can make a mistake. I would probably wager a pretty hefty sum, and I'm feeling hot this week, that this was just an oversight and that she was unaware that Florida lost.
I also would wager that. Now, here's where my sympathy ends. She was asked about this. She went on a podcast. She was asked about this. And her response to why did you move UF up and not rank USF was, I don't want to go too much into my process or logic, which you texted me yesterday. You're going to use this for all things now. And I was thinking about it. Like, I love it. If my wife calls me, how come you forgot to take the kids to their dentist appointment? I don't want to get into my process or logic.
Think about how many times I can get out of jail free using that. Like I didn't move my wife's laundry from the washing machine to the dryer, which, by the way, is a hot button issue in my house. And I didn't want to get into my process.
Depending on whose underwear in that dryer.
Yeah, so here's actually what sports media is. And we actually got into a little discussion about this yesterday about, making predictions and doing the best that we can to analyze the information that we have on hand in order to, formulate a point. My opinion is that sports media, especially in the podcasting form, is about coming up with takes. They might not be right. They might not be wrong, but every single freaking take that I have on this show, I can argue with you till the death about. And now I might be wrong about it, but I have a logic and a process to explain how I arrive at those things. And the thing that is just the most difficult for Haley, and I think she's, from what I understand, fairly new into covering college football, is one, if you make a mistake and you say, I'm sorry, we wouldn't even be talking about this right now.
Yes.
And two, if you do have a very bizarre take, which is, I believe Florida illustrated X, Y, and Z to be ranked 2 ahead, and it wasn't a mistake, then tell us your process. Because if you tell us your process, we don't have to agree with it, but at least we know you're putting thought into it. And I think the thing that
tells us you screwed up and you didn't realize that Florida had lost, which is embarrassing.
And I think that
very embarrassing.
I think if I recall, the AP
I have a story, Ari. I did this, not this specific thing. My second year as an AP poll voter, I think it was after the games of week 1 or maybe after the games of week 2. I want to say it was after the games of week 1 because I remember it being a different time submitting the ballot than usual, because usually you submit the ballot on Sunday morning. And so I want to say, I know I was in an airport doing the ballot. I know I was moving stuff around where I was like, cutting, copying, and pasting. And so I had Ohio State ready to move somewhere. So I, highlighted Ohio State on the on the thing I was typing, and I cut Ohio State, and I meant to paste Ohio State in somewhere else, and I didn't. And I submitted my ballot with no Ohio State. And this is a time when Ohio State should have been like number 4 or number 5. And so it would be very obvious when they weren't in there, and there'd be no good reason for them to not be in there. And so now Ralph Russo, our friend who's now at The Athletic, when he was at the AP, he did save me a few times because I did that a few more times. And he said, he texted me and said, did you mean to leave X team off? And I'd be like, oh crap, I didn't. And I'd fix it.
Mm-hmm.
This time, nobody did that. Nobody texted me, and it went out, and they have, obviously everybody's ballot's public. And Twitter exists at this point. People are like, what the hell? How did you leave Ohio State out? And I'm like, oh my God. And so I tweeted it immediately. I was moving some stuff around. I meant to put them back in. Didn't see I hadn't put them back in. I messed up. I'm sorry. The good thing for me at that point was my SI power rankings came out on Tuesday. So I had a whole column. So I made that the lead to the column. Here's how I screwed up. Here's where Ohio State should be. And Ohio State is where they should be in this one. That's all you can do with that.
I don't really recall
you just have to say you messed up.
I don't recall the mechanism, but I remember I thought there was like a check system that you had. There was like a page that you like moved people down and up on. If I recall correctly, it's been a decade since I voted.
Not when I did it. When I did it, you typed it up and you sent it in. Okay,
then maybe that's I can't remember. But the thing that I wanted to ask you, and this is if you are a beat writer, especially at a place like USC, I understand if you're like the beat writer for Mississippi State or something, like what's going on nationally might not be as important to your beat. Or if you're covering Arizona, for instance, I don't know if the Arizona beat writer at the Daily Star spends a lot of time contextualizing what's going on in Tucson to what's going on in other places. But a major piece of journalism for me, at least as a beat writer, was to localize stories. If something was happening somewhere else that could, impact or change the way we view Ohio State, I used that thing that was really popular in the news and tried to localize it to Ohio State. And I think that if you are an AP poll voter, you have a certain responsibility to at least be aware of things. Like if you're unaware that Florida lost and that was how the mistake happened, I think that the USC beat writer for a major publication in Southern California should know generally what's going on in the sport around USC. Well,
especially because that particular loss could have a hand in opening up a very large job in college football. Now, there is a ripple effect there. So I'll say, when I was a Florida beat writer, I didn't really keep track of much outside of the SEC, except the first year on the beat, Ron Zook got fired. So then I had to keep track of whoever might be a potential candidate to take over at that point. Urban Meyer was obviously the leading candidate. He was coaching at Utah. I watched every Utah game. Once it looked like Ron Zook was on the hot seat, we knew he's on the hot seat going into the season, but once it looked like it was possible he'd get fired, I was watching every Utah game. I was watching every Louisville game because Bobby Petrino would have been on the list. And then 2 years later, 2006, when Florida is potentially in it for the national title, I did watch the games of Ohio State, Michigan, USC, the other teams that they likely would have been in competition for one of those two spots with.
I mean, every year that I was a beat writer, Ohio State was in the national championship conversation. So maybe that's part of the reason why I had that responsibility. But here's why I think people get upset. And then we're going to get to the point of asking, does there need to be some AP poll reform? Because I saw some of this and I wanted to get your take on it. But I think the general resentment from fans is a two-pronged thing. And I stole that from my friend David. He kept saying two-pronged over the weekend. But it's a two-pronged thing. One is if you're a beat writer for a major college football program, that is perceived by the general public as a dream job, right? Like to be able to do that. And I think that if you're unaware of the things surrounding you in the sport, that implies that you don't love college football, because how could you not know that, right? Which, by the way,
is something that ticks me off too. And we've talked about, this is what we talked about with Josh Pate. When Josh Pate goes, he tells us the story of going to the first game he's ever gone to in the press box and realizing that half the people in the press box don't actually like college football. Like, nothing pisses me off more either than someone who's got one of these, because I know how hard I had to work to get one of those jobs.
Andy, and you know this about
me. It pisses me off if you don't, maybe it shouldn't, because maybe people want to be NBA writers or NFL writers someday. And this is the best job they can get. If you don't care about it as much as the person in the stands, you are going to piss people off.
Yeah.
It's going to bother people.
And I don't know if you know this about me. I think you do. But when I was covering college football early in my career, I would have crawled over broken glass to go cover USC for the Orange County Register. And I was, even when I was a beat writer at the Cleveland Plain Dealer, I wanted to live in LA and I wanted to cover Pac-12 football. That was what I think I even applied to jobs there and never got respondents. So to hear the person who got that job right now, knowing what I had to go through in order to get any job in this business, kind of annoys me. But I don't know her. Yeah,
it's really fun, but it probably doesn't matter in the end, was one of the things she said also. You can't say that.
Yeah.
It's By the way, it's true. I can say this now as someone who doesn't vote in the AP poll anymore and will never vote in the AP poll again. Like, it doesn't matter.
Well,
not one bit.
I wanted to dive into that.
When you're voting in it, it matters.
First of all, if you do vote in it, I think that you, even if you know that or have the perception that it doesn't ultimately matter, you need to treat it like it does, because it is the only poll that we have for the first half of the season. I think the AP poll starts to morph into
the coaches poll.
Yeah, that's true. But these are important to us. But the thing that I want to know to you is, do you think that there is any? It doesn't factor into who wins the national title anymore. It does not factor into any formula that goes into ranking teams that will play in the playoff. But are there other tangential important factors to this?
There's one, and it's what our friend Ralph has said for years. And he still says it even though he doesn't work for the AP anymore. It's a historical document. It's a continuously running historical document, which is useful for people who care about the history of the game. Since 1936, you've had a group of people from around the country. Now, the around the country part was a lot bigger deal between 1936 and, say, 2000, because we had regional television coverage or no television coverage at all. There was no widespread internet usage until 2000. Or no internet at all. And people from around the country couldn't easily find out about teams that weren't in their area. So that was the reason they did it the way they did it, why they have such a large group of voters, why the voters are geographically diverse. That doesn't matter as much anymore, but it matters in terms of they've been doing this the same way since 1936. I would like them to keep doing it that way so that you have consistency in how the poll works, so that when you are comparing things from different eras, there's some consistency there. But in terms of, does it matter relative to who's going to win the national championship? We know it doesn't matter.
There's another thing that Ralph Russo liked to bring up that I want to make important too, is that if we on this show are focused a lot of times, because the most interesting matchups and the most nationally relevant are games that are occurring between top 15 teams, top 20 teams. And those topics range based on how that poll changes. But it means a hell of a lot to people at USF where they're ranked right now. It means a hell of a lot to them. And I think during times in which I was covering Ohio State and then started doing things nationally, I've lost track of the importance of being ranked to smaller schools. And I've even gotten in trouble with that in my past. And I think it's important that if her poll or other poll misrank Florida, or, they don't rank USF, and USF could be 16 instead of 18, like that's a big difference to them. And it matters to them, and it should matter to them. And I also wonder too, if early season AP poll results before we get the CFP poll, drum up, enthusiasm amongst fans. Does it help boosters? Are there other tangential effects that being ranked in the top 25 have for smaller programs in the AP poll? And I don't know if you think that's no, but I think it might be maybe 10% yes. And
it's a much bigger deal for them than it is like LSU, Oregon.
Would fans be
Texas,
more willing
to
donate to NIL because they're in the top 25 of the AP poll through October?
Probably, yes.
Because they're excited about it. I mean, everything is all about hype and excitement.
Here's the other dirty secret of that. Now, USF probably should be above this group right now, given the results. But the fact of the matter is 20 through 30 are all basically the same team.
They are.
And I realize that really pisses the person off whose team is ranked 27th when they want them to be ranked 23rd. But
it gets harder to decipher the lower you go.
Yeah.
But the last thing I wanted to say, Andy, before we spend the entire episode talking about this, I knew we would have a good discussion about it. But do you think there needs to be reform in who votes in it and how many people vote in it?
I think if you can't just say I made a mistake when you made a mistake and you try to come up with a convoluted explanation, maybe your vote gets taken away.
Do you think beat writers should vote in it because of the way that they did it historically, or do you think that people that are wrapped up in one specific team are too close to a situation in it?
I would rather it be people who just watch all the games. I think people who watch all the games have a better perspective than someone who's just watching one team.
Because I don't know if Now, I think you can make a perfectly respectable poll just looking at the scores.
You know who it should be? Is like, if we're going to go to newspapers, the college football editor.
Right.
At the various newspapers, because they are responsible for watching more things.
Exactly.
And keeping track of more things.
And they're the ones who curate the AP stories that go into the paper of things that happened around. Yeah, I think that's a good point. The last point I want to make about this is, if you ask 99% of casual college football fans, they know Florida lost. Like, if the answer is I did not know Florida lost instead of I made an oversight on my ballot because I was cutting and pasting, those are two very different things. I think that if you cover college football, you need to know. You're not doing your job to its fullest extent if you cover USC and you do not know that Florida lost.
Yeah, look inward if that is the case.
Yeah, and I feel bad because I don't want to just pick on her. But
no, but we, again, like I said, I have made a similar mistake. The difference was, when I made that mistake, I didn't try to hide anything. Because the cover up's always worse than the crime. Like, I was like, I messed up. I'm sorry. Like, yeah. And if there's no excuse for this,
if that was the case, we wouldn't even be talking about this. And then also, the impressions of the original tweet is upwards of over 10 million. So people, even though it might quote unquote not matter, think about how many people get wound up about it every week. We talk about it. The rankings help guide how we view things in the first half of the season. They might not matter from a competitive standpoint, but they certainly matter in framing the sport in the early half of it. And, for USF, I think you can make the case that they could be ranked higher. I mean, I don't know that I would rank them higher personally than Ole Miss, A&M, Tennessee, Iowa State, Oklahoma, or Clemson right now. But if you wanted to, who gets a lot of crap is Doug, or when he used to do
it. Maurice, yes, because of the way he does it, which I love the way he does it. And that's how I do the playoff projections now. And it pisses people off because you throw away the preseason expectations once the games start. And it changes a lot early in the season.
Like, I think if he were doing it, USF would be in the top 5. I think you can make the case that USF has the best.
Well, and I had somebody tweet at me, if Miami beats USF, does that make Miami number 1? Would Miami have the the best 2 wins of the season between Notre Dame and USF? And I'm like, maybe.
Do you think that USF has the 2 best wins in the season right now?
No.
Do you think it has the best 2-game resume?
Maybe.
Because if you
do, I don't know if Boise State's any good. Is Boise State good?
I'm just saying, based on the information that we have right now, you can make the case that they beat Florida.
You could have USF wherever you want. And that's the thing.
2 teams that were in preseason playoff projection brackets.
Yeah. So that'd be fine. You put them wherever you want. And that's the thing when people say, when people talk about the polls, if you don't like the AP poll, do your own poll. Like, we could do an on-3 poll if we wanted to.
We should do an on-3 poll. Did you see somebody tweeted that?
I don't want to do a top 25 every week.
It'd be fun.
No, it's not. That's why I don't vote in the AP poll, Ari.
Wait a minute. You don't want to do a poll at 3:30 in the morning every Sunday?
No. That sounds terrible.
How many ballots do you think are cast at the airport?
All of them.
Right before you board a flight.
Not all, but quite a few of them. So no, that sounds miserable to me. But here's the thing: if our boss asks us to do it, and Luke, I know you're watching. Don't ask us to do this. But if our boss asks us to do this, I'll do it.
It's much easier to do it now than it was in January and in July.
True.
We had to do that. So,
but I am stealing. I don't want to get too much into my processor logic. For every argument that I have with my wife for the rest of my life, and when she files for divorce in about 2 months, I'm probably going to get up in court and say that. I don't want to get too much into my processor logic.
If you did that, like, how far could you go before that? Like, think about how far in life you could go if every time you were asked a question you didn't want to answer, you said that. Like,
I don't want to get into my processor logic.
Think about like the divorce attorney. Hey, I want the house, car, and all of our possessions. Why? I don't want to reveal my process and logic.
or like contract negotiation. Shannon Terry, I think I should make $3.5 million a year.
Why?
What have you done to deserve that? I don't want to get into my processor logic.
Do you think that could work? That sounds like a Seinfeld episode.
It is a Seinfeld episode.
Life saying that every time someone challenges you.
And it would be, this would definitely be George Costanza, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna try it.
Logic, Jerry.
I'll let you know how it goes. I will let you know how it goes, Ari. All right, we gotta get to the Megaboard, my new favorite thing, and on 3. But before that, let's talk about one of my other favorite things, and that is Huel. The world's #1 complete nutrition, the Huel Black Edition. So I take the powder, I scoop it into the shaker bottle, shake it up, and then complete meal, 40 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, everything I need, ready on the go. Perfect if you're busy, got a busy family, got to get the kids good nutrition, don't have time to cook. Got to get you good nutrition, don't have time to cook. Also, you can sign up now for Huel Daily Greens. This is the new product from Huel. In one can, you've got 42 vitamins, minerals, and superfoods, super greens, adaptogens, lion's mane mushroom, 4 grams of fiber, electrolytes, and antioxidants. So Huel is looking out for you in a variety of different ways. It is the world's #1 complete nutrition. With the promo code STAPLES15, you get 15% off your first purchase of $75 or more, plus a free gift. So go to Huel.com. That's Huel.com. Staples15 is the code for 15% off your first purchase of $75 or more. All right. Let us talk Megaboard, because, like I said, my favorite new feature at On3. So this is essentially the best of all of the message boards in the On3 network. And when you have team sites everywhere. And some of these are really great discussions. Some of these are really funny. Some of these are complete meltdowns. Some of these are wildly off topic, but they're all fun. And I have very much enjoyed having them kind of curated. It's very much like the front page of Reddit. When you log into Reddit, and it, obviously Reddit sees what you tend to read about and focuses it toward what you like. The only difference is we don't have Am I the Asshole? Though I'm sure, Ari, you can start making a few of those threads on the message boards, and we'll get those on the Megaboard.
Yeah. So just so I understand this, I know I work at the company and I'm not good at like always keeping up with everything. Is this curated based on how much like are active like threads and views, or is it curated based on which topics are the best? It's
curated by human beings. It is not. We're not using an algorithm to do it.
So that's perfect, because then we have somebody looking through to
We've
say,
actually got a Slack channel where people pitch threads from their boards.
Okay.
Like, hey, here's a good one. And
because sometimes the biggest threads aren't always the most interesting. And I noticed that the ones that we picked out and the ones that we were like looking through on the main site yesterday were actually, because I went to that LettermenRow board and I was reading about Bryce Underwood after we talked about it and previewed it on the show yesterday. And it was actually like a rational discussion amongst people.
It's a great discussion. And that's where we're going to start. We're going to start today with a Bryce Underwood discussion. So Bryce Underwood is Michigan's freshman quarterback. But the discussion is actually on our Ohio State site, LettermenRow. So Candygram for Mongo is a member at LettermenRow. Says, Bryce Underwood is the title of the thread. So what do we think about this fella? I've recently looked at Bryce Underwood's tape and highlights. He reminds me a lot of Jason Campbell at Auburn. I think he's going to be pretty solid at worst. And so this was September 8th. So this was coming after the Oklahoma game. And it turns into a really interesting discussion among Ohio State fans of how good they think Michigan's quarterback is going to be or not. And Ari, I do think, I've never thought of looking at it from this perspective, but if you are a fan of Ohio State or a fan of Michigan State or somebody who has to deal with Michigan every year, are you worried about Bryce Underwood going forward based on the 2 games you've seen so far?
Did you see me working through a mic issue there?
I did. It was awesome. We don't have to hang aside today.
So, and I don't know, we talked a lot about Oklahoma after the game, and I want to get into this with you. I think that if you're an Ohio State fan, it's an important thing to always keep tabs on your enemy, right? Like that's what Michigan fans do. I mean, nobody keeps tabs on their enemy more than those 2 teams. And I think that when you look at Bryce Underwood, you see a player that has a ton of potential, right? But I think that Bryce Underwood represents something that is more than just how good is he going to be personally. I think he represents a commitment to winning in football that Michigan lacked in the last 10 years. I think that they got a taste of winning at a high level, and then their boosters. And I don't know if this is a good time to talk about a specific stock going through the roof today. Larry Ellison's stock is up 30%.
Yeah, Larry Ellison's about to become. I think he's going to stay the second richest man in the world, but he's just going to be more rich.
Yeah, he could fund a pretty gnarly NIL campaign for Michigan if he decided just to use the gains from today.
And he went to Illinois, but his wife went to Michigan and is the Michigan super fan, and so that is where this is coming from.
So just so you guys know, if I ever become rich and famous, which you guys have complete control over, NIL at A&M is going to go through the roof.
That's his wife's alma mater. Not Ari's alma mater.
Yeah, I'm not gonna help Arizona at all. I'm just gonna shovel money into A&M. But it is a commitment to winning that is necessary, and I'm not sure because Michigan, in the middle of the Jim Harbaugh era, was not as obsessed with football from an administrative level down as it seems like they are right now. And I don't know if like the NCAA thing like lit a fire under everyone's ass. The way that Michigan fought back was like if you would have told me this scenario in 2012.
Oh, I would never believe you. I'd be like, you're talking about like Ohio State or Tennessee, right? You're not talking about Michigan.
Michigan, I thought, would never do something like what they did in terms of like the battles and the complete defiance publicly of that ruling. So let's, I guess, go with the first part, which is how good do you like when you watch the game, Andy? How good did you think he looked, and how much like potential do you think is there?
I think the potential is there. I think he can be good. I don't think he has much around him right now. I think in that thread, a poster named QC Buckeye said it really well. He said he may end up being good, but right now he's just a player with tools. I did not see any wow factor plays Saturday night. Looked good against New Mexico. They lack wide receiver talent. O-line play is not what it has been, and I'm not seeing a difference-making tight end. Now, I believe they had an injury there, so I think they have one, but not necessarily didn't have one Saturday night. The offensive line play not being what it was, I think that's probably true right now. It does not look like it was as good as the line last year or the year before. Now, we'll find out as the games go on. Like they play Nebraska next week, and we'll get a little better, taste of it. But I do think he's in a situation where there's not much help. What QC Buckeye said later that I thought was the most interesting thing, and this is the part I think we should talk about. He should be holding a clipboard, but the money is dictating him playing, and he's pressing. And that is the truth. And that is the difference now between college in the NIL era and the NFL with the current NFL CBA. There was a time in the NFL when you had to start a first-round draft pick rookie quarterback because you paid him gobs and gobs of money. But the CBA after Sam Bradford basically created a rookie salary scale where you could get away with redshirting somebody. Patrick Mahomes redshirted behind Alex Smith for a year in the NFL. Now in college, if you get a guy like Bryce Underwood, he is your highest paid quarterback. Are you going to play him or sit him? And we had this argument last year with Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway at Florida. It ended up Florida had to start DJ Lagway because Graham Mertz got hurt. But you're paying all this money, you may as well play him, is the attitude.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the very least it makes it more fun and interesting.
Yeah.
It is interesting to think because I don't know where you stand on this, but I don't feel like Michigan would have been any better off in that game against Oklahoma if like Mikey Keene was playing.
Yeah, none of their other quarterbacks. It's not like they have another quarterback who could be better. But like Ohio State is in a different position too, because they have guys, Julian Sayin from last year's class, Tavian St. Clair from this year's class, who were ranked almost as high. Like Tavian St. Clair was the number 2 quarterback behind Bryce Underwood. And he is sitting just like Julian Sayin sat last year because he needed to. And
Well, if you go down the list of quarterbacks that have become very successful, how many of them did not play their true freshman year? Like if you just go down the list of best quarterbacks, most of them didn't, right?
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if I just think that it's just a different case with everybody. Jaden Daniels played immediately, and they went to the NFC Championship.
Yep. And Producer River just mentioned Baker Mayfield, who started game 1 when he was at Texas Tech.
So, I mean, it's not. I don't know if it's just a blanket. I don't even know if I agree with the notion that he should be holding a clipboard, because I don't know what it would have looked like the other way. But I didn't watch the Michigan game on Saturday night and view them losing as a Bryce Underwood problem. Was he off the mark at times? Sure. Did he look like a freshman at times? Sure.
Yeah.
But, he did also have a few beautiful passes, and Michigan was in the game for 4 quarters. So, and there aren't any explosive playmakers that are going to go win him the game the way that Michigan's had in the recent past. Blake Corum's not on the team. Donovan Edwards isn't on the team. Roman Wilson's not on the team. Who's on the team that's going to lift him up?
Right. So, Donovan McCulley made a really nice catch, but I don't know that. I mean, he seems to be their best receiver, but if you put Donovan McCulley at Ohio State, where is he in the receiver pecking order? 4th? 5th?
I mean, Colston Loveland was a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what the actual expectation were, but I thought that Michigan in general looked exactly the way that I anticipated that they would look. And I think that was something that was probably frustrating for Michigan fans to watch. But I also think that what we saw, there's an opportunity for them to continually and gradually get better. So I am still pretty high on his ability, just from an athletic standpoint, to get to be great. I don't know if he should be holding a clipboard or not. I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, let's go to another post. This one also concerns Michigan. It is from our Michigan site, the Wolverine. And this is from Misty Blue. And this is one of those I read it, I'm like, oh boy. And Misty knew in writing this post that there's some danger here. And I will say, if reading the responses, I do appreciate everybody heeding the warning. This is a serious question. There are posters who say what our coaches should and should not do. Do they really know better than our coaches, or do they only think they know better than our coaches, hoping for serious responses? The headline to this post is, are there posters or members here who actually are better at coaching than our actual coaches? And most people took it seriously, though. Sasquatch616 posted the gif of when Bart Simpson gets the job at the brothel, and his grandpa walks in and puts his hat on the hat rack and just grabs it and walks back out.
Yeah.
So that was and most people obviously said, no, the people on the board can't coach better than the actual coaches. But it is a good discussion of a serious discussion. How many people on their couch Saturday do you think actually believe they would do a better job if they were handed a call sheet and said, here, go call plays, whether that's at Michigan or, with Billy Napier at Florida, who's their primary offensive play caller? How many people think they would really do a better job?
Well, how many people do you think realize there's multiple designed runs that look the same? Like blocking schemes are different, So the question that I have in response to this is, without understanding the X's and O's, because I think very few people understand to the level of X's and O's necessary to call plays effectively, do you think you can criticize or be more effective in the concept that you're running? Like if you are facing a 4th and 1, I think there are probably people out there that could decide holistically what to do in certain situations, like go for it or punt. Like, for instance, I think I could have done a better job than the head coach of the Bears with the late game situation on Monday night in terms of.
But you're definitely not a better play caller than Ben Johnson.
Absolutely not. But I don't think Ben Johnson decided whether or not. I mean, I don't know. Who do you think decided? Ben Johnson probably did. But to not go for an onside kick or kick it out of bounds rather than.
Yes, Ben Johnson definitely decided that.
Yeah. Or do we think that the kicker thought he could kick it out of the end zone? Is that what happened? Because there are certain things.
If you're a kickoff guy in the NFL, you should be able to kick it out of the end zone automatically. That's not even a question.
So I don't know if it was a bad call or poor execution, and that's also the other thing too, because you never quite know. Like if the coach is like, I'm certain that my kicker can kick it out of the end zone to preserve the 2-minute warning and not let the guy return it in because that
I tend to believe that he did not tell him to kick it out of the end zone because I think he would have. And I thought it was interesting when the Vikings return man caught the ball. Like you saw him staring at the sideline after he caught the ball, like basically looking for the third base coach to tell him stop or run. And
but like as Chicago scored with as much time left, I'm sitting on the couch at a poker night with my friends and we're discussing, okay, so they can't go back on defense at 2 minutes or less than 2 minutes. They need that. So do you try the onside
They needed the
kick
stoppage in time.
Do you try the onside kick here? Does it take 2 seconds off the clock to attempt that onside kick, or at the very least try to get the ball back? Or if not, do you kick this ball out of bounds to ensure that no time comes off the clock? Because field position at that point wasn't important. What was important is getting the ball back with 45 seconds.
But here's the thing that I think most people don't realize. If you were thrown in that situation, like on your couch, you know what to do. If you were thrown in that situation where there's 9 million other things flying at you at once, you would freak out. Or most people would freak out. But most people would completely freak out. We're
also giving the coach is in a position and being paid what he is to not freak out. So I don't think that's not a fair. That's not.
Well, it's the same thing as like when people think they could do our jobs. There are people who are so naturally talented that if you throw them in front of a mic for the first time, they could say something entertaining. But most people, and I'm included in this, like if you go back and listen to the first shows I did at SiriusXM, it's painful.
Yeah.
It's awful. Like most people would have no idea what to do. They would say, oh, I know exactly how to do a show and put a show together. I know exactly. And you hand them a mic and you say, okay, camera's on, let's go. Most people would freeze.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with coaching. Like
repetition is important. Like you and I, when I first came on, like, I mean, we're just reporters. This was never supposed to be where we were going. And we used a lot of reps to get here. So I think that the notion that somebody could call plays better than Ben Johnson's insane. I think that any offense, like Mike Bobo, let's use him because he's like the number one hated.
He's universally criticized.
The Georgia fans that yell, run the damn ball, Bobo, do they think they could call better plays than him? Absolutely.
Well, and that's the question. I think you brought this up earlier. It's not run the damn ball, Bobo. It's which run are you calling? Like,
yeah.
Are you calling? Do you want to call a gap? Like, because the first thing he's got to decide: do I want to call a gap scheme or his own scheme? What personnel grouping do I want to have on the field? All of that stuff matters, and I don't think the average fan even thinks about that.
I don't think an average fan ever considers personnel groupings. Do you want to have a tight end on the field? Do you want people out wide? Do you want to spread the box? Do you want to zone? Do you want to gap? There's all these different things. But I think holistically, an average fan knows. Are we in the middle
of the field or are we on the left hash or the right hash? Are we better at boundary runs or field runs? Like these are all things that are going through their minds in the 20 seconds between plays.
But I do think holistically, while watching football games, coaches make weird decisions just from a concept standpoint.
Sure.
Fourth and 2
because there's a lot of pressure.
Do you punt or do you run? Do you punt or do you run? Like, I think that an average fan can decide better at times being in their living room whether or not you should punt or run. You know how many times on Saturday I'm watching, because I got 25 games going. I'm betting betting on G5 games. How many times I'll see a stupid decision to punt? Like if you're at the opposing 38 and it's 4th and 4 and you punt, like you should be like removed from your position. And it happens all the time.
There was a game, I don't remember which one it was. Somebody tweeted it out. Somebody punted from the plus 36.
Unless it's 4th and 14. Because
even if it is.
Because I think like I don't know what the math is on this, but if you punt from the plus 37 or 36 or 38, you got a better than 50% chance of that thing going in the end zone. And you're telling me that 18 yards of field position is better is a better gain than trying to get the first down in scoring position? It's insane.
Yeah. Yards are cheap, points are priceless.
Yeah. Anyway, there are times, and I think it actually happens more in the NFL than it does. It seems to me because I watch the NFL as a fan. When I'm watching college football, like I'm like,
you're locked in. You're working.
It's not. It's a very different vibe when I'm watching the NFL. I'm laying on my back while I'm watching the NFL. I feel
tarp on, tarp off.
Tarp off always when I camera. I don't wear a shirt in my home ever. Do you?
Yes. I have teenagers. Do you think they would make fun of me?
No, you've got nice arms. Is that a weird thing to say to your podcast host? I don't know. You decide. But it is a this first thing that I will do when we're done here is take my shirt off. And then I've got like a half hour. Then I've got to go to the dentist appointment where I will wear a shirt. When I'm watching the NFL all the time, I'm like,
reluctantly.
What are we
doing?
All
right. I think we've agreed coaching's hard. Yeah. Most of us can't do it. But there's probably a couple people who'd be natural.
Do you think if you and I stood on the sideline behind the offensive coordinator and we decided take a shot here, run it here, do this or that, like if you
gave them very general things
that I could call a good game?
Yeah, very general things. Like I think you should throw a quick game pass here.
Yeah.
But then you leave the specifics to them, because I think the thing is, without being at practice every day, without installing the offense yourself, you don't know the specifics of it. But you can generally say
the slot receiver is a little bit slower on this route at this time or whatever. Like there's all sorts of things that go into it.
Yeah, you can generally say, hey, a boundary run here would be nice. Something like that.
Yeah. And then I think if I did that and the offensive coordinator had to listen to me, I could coach a team to a win.
And if you don't know what a boundary run is, I can assure you would never be able to call a better play. Boundary means the short side of the field, the narrower side of the field if you're on one of the hashes. So that's the field is the large part of it.
But I also think I could take over a recruiting department.
That's different. And you can actually take the classes to learn to be a scout.
No, I don't want to do the part where I can tell you if the player's worth recruiting. I want to be given the board, and then I tell you where to spend time.
I think you understand the dynamics of that pretty well. Yeah. But that's also from talking to a lot of people who know what they're doing.
Yeah,
so
it's just basically plagiarism through phone calls.
Exactly. Ari, something came in the mail yesterday. And I am so excited about it. I think you got yours a few days earlier than I did. Producer River got his a couple days earlier. My Omaha Steaks box came. So I have filet mignon. I have filet mignon burgers. So ground filet mignon. I have pork chops. I have the Franks. I have the caramel apple tarts. I am so excited to get cooking with Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher. Since 1917, a family-owned company with over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry. Grass-fed, grain-finished beef, more marbling, exceptional flavor. And it's a choice of steakhouses and professional chefs around the world, and they bring it right to your door. So get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Red Hot Sale event. And for an extra $35 off, use the promo code Andy and Ari. So ANDY. ANDARI, Andy and Ari, for an extra $35 off at checkout. See the site for details. Ari, what are the things that you are most excited to cook up? Because you mentioned your wife's out of town. You might be cooking tonight.
I have the filet mignon burgers. And I'm not a great steak cooker, but I know how to make a good burger. I'm going to make
do you use the hand method to determine doneness?
What?
Medium, right there. If the burger to the touch feels like that part of your hand, it's medium.
Yeah, I'm a medium rare guy, so it doesn't really take.
A burger?
Yeah, even like when I get a burger at a restaurant, I'll say like closer to medium, but medium rare-ish.
Yeah, I'm a rare steak person. Medium rare if I don't trust you, but rare if I trust you. Yeah, and then but burgers in a restaurant, I'm going medium. I don't mind a little medium rare when I'm cooking a burger at home, though.
Yeah, and there's also hot dogs in there, right? They got some like high quality Franks.
Some Franks,
my
absolutely.
Daughter, and we have a lot of hot dogs in this house, so we're gonna fire those up and we'll take some.
Got chicken breasts, got pork chops. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
They had dessert until this box came, so like that's a pretty nice little treat in there too.
Visit omahasteaks.com, 50% off site-wide during the Red Hot Sale. Use the code Andy and Ari for an extra $35 off. Let us traverse down the Megaboard a little more. This one was interesting to me, and it was on Gamecock Central, our South Carolina site. So, essentially, how concerned are we about Vandy? This is we as in South Carolina fans. How concerned should South Carolina be about Vanderbilt. And I would say if I watched the second half of the Vanderbilt Virginia Tech game, very concerned because South Carolina fans, very fresh in their mind playing Virginia Tech because they played Virginia Tech the Sunday before. And what South Carolina did to Virginia Tech and what Vandy did to Virginia Tech were very different things.
Yeah. Vanderbilt impressed me athletically. I think we know they have a scrappy quarterback. But if you go back and you watch Vanderbilt, they beat the crap out of a very athletic, quick, strong, and fast team. And I thought, in general, that Vanderbilt illustrated the ability to compete with anybody in the SEC. Now, I don't know if they get on the same field as Georgia. I'm not saying they're going to lose by 3 or whatever, stay competitive. But every single game that Vanderbilt plays and has played really since they beat Alabama has made what they did to Alabama last year less surprising. Like in the moment, if you go back in time and remember what it was like on our Saturday reaction show the day Vanderbilt beat Alabama, you felt like, oh my God, what is wrong with Alabama? How could they possibly lose? And it's like, well, Vanderbilt is much better than we give them credit for. And Clark Lee and Barton Simmons and those guys over there deserve a lot of credit for analyzing and getting undervalued talent that can come out and play at this level. Because Vanderbilt for decades was playing in a conference that it athletically was not equipped to compete in. So from that standpoint, like you have a tough, athletically able team, and South Carolina's offense has struggled. So from that standpoint, like I understand, and like, look, it's a home game and they're laying 4.5. Any team that's laying 4.5 at home is going to be in a tough game, period. So I would be a little worried if I were South Carolina.
Now, we both picked South Carolina when the line was 5.5 at BetMGM. And there's a reason for that too, because we also watched South Carolina play Vanderbilt last year. Now, the rosters are somewhat different, but a lot of the guys are the same here. It's the same coaching staffs, generally. South Carolina has a new offensive coordinator. But South Carolina dominated Vanderbilt last year. They won 28-7. It was never close. It never felt like there was a chance. And South Carolina has a couple of aliens on their team. You know, the one thing that I came away from that South Carolina Vandy game seeing in person was Dylan Stewart is incredible. He is a problem. He is someone who has to be accounted for every second he's on the field. And not everybody has somebody like that. And South Carolina has him, and they have Lenore Sellers on the other side.
And we were supposed to do a lot of stuff happen this week, but we're supposed to do an aliens episode, and I'm sure we still will.
Yeah.
But does Vanderbilt have an alien?
No, but what they do have is a good enough team up front. And this is what I'm curious about is because Virginia Tech obviously has nobody like Dylan Stewart either. But what Vanderbilt did really well is dominate the line of scrimmage in the second half. I mean, it felt like they were gaining 10 yards carry in the second half. And that is something South Carolina was unable to do to Virginia Tech because we saw them try, but they couldn't do that. So can Vanderbilt do that to South Carolina is the question. I do think South Carolina's defensive front is better than Virginia Tech's. I don't know that Vanderbilt's going to be able to do that because that allows you to control possession. And the thing is, once you have a couple drives like that, you break a team's spirit completely. You break their will. Like they get, and they also get so physically exhausted by these long, sustained, just beat them up on the ground type drives that it's hard to come back. I don't know that Vanderbilt can do that to South Carolina. I think Vanderbilt is going to have to come up with a couple other ways to make big plays happen. Yeah.
But I'm looking at the box score. I admittedly, and hey, listen, if we learn anything from the first half of this episode, I didn't watch any of the South Carolina game against who did they play this week?
South Carolina State.
South Carolina State. But I'm looking at the box score now, and they won 38-10. Nothing really jumps off the page there. It was an emotional week for them beforehand and a short week for them, and they won 38-10. Lenore Sellers, 11 of 19 for 128 yards. I'm seeing that Nick Harbor didn't have a reception in that game, and nobody rushed for more than 30. Yeah. So I don't know, like
giant lightning delay. Like it was a weird game.
I don't know how much you take away from that game, but the box score looks pretty ugly if you're a South Carolina fan. That said, I don't know how much you read into a game like that. I think
it's like last year, their first game, South Carolina looked awful, and then they went to Kentucky and destroyed them.
Yeah.
So
So if you're a South Carolina fan, I understand if you're watching that game and looking at that box score and like, oh God, like, because it's an ugly box score. But if we know anything about the sport, and I think we're going to find out this week when Florida plays LSU, that, last week's sample size isn't necessarily the whole story or the story to begin with. So, and that was me kind of layering in. I think Florida is going to give LSU all it can handle on Saturday predictions. So,
which we talked about in the pick show.
Yeah,
I think Vandy gives South Carolina a better game than Vandy gave South Carolina last year.
For sure.
The part I can't figure out is, can Diego Pavia work his magic against South Carolina? Because I don't think Vandy's going to be able to just mash them down the field like they did against Virginia Tech. Like, it's going to take Pavia doing some things in the passing game, or getting away from Dylan Stewart. We did see Kyron Drones do that for a lot of the game when Virginia Tech played South Carolina. Dylan Stewart is really disruptive, but if you can get away from him, things break down. You have a scramble drill. All of a sudden, you maybe have somebody open downfield. So, can Diego Pavia do that? I don't know. He's a good athlete. Is he as good an athlete as Kyron Drones? Probably, but Kyron Drones is a pretty good athlete too. So that's the question, because I think Dylan Stewart is probably going to be in the backfield a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, this is a person you can't eliminate.
Yeah, I think Vanderbilt's going to give him a tough game, but as we outlined earlier in the pick show, I think that South Carolina will win. What it looks like, I think we'll be able to draw more about South Carolina holistically long-term from this game than we have from some of the previous other games. But this could be a good time for Dylan Stewart, Nick Harbor, and Lenore Sellers to show up a little bit.
Yeah. And it may just be a styles make fight situation. That's the other thing. But it's interesting reading the thread on Gamecock Central. I think most South Carolina fans are very respectful of Vanderbilt. Like, you don't see a lot of, oh no, we're going to kill them, we're just overreacting to the first game. It's more of, hey, the first game didn't look good, but I think we're a good matchup against this team, which I think is probably the right attitude to have. And that's the one you want Shane Beamer and the players to have, is be very, very respectful of this team. Don't take it lightly. And if you do that, I think you have a good chance of winning the game.
Yeah, I agree. And also, how do you get respect? By being legitimately good. Vanderbilt used to be the butt of a joke. You know why no one's making those jokes? Because Vanderbilt,
they flip on the tape and they're like, holy crap.
Yeah, the tape is there. So, like, that's how you get respect. And kudos to Clark Lee and his staff for building that there.
Well, I'm really excited to see this game. There's some really interesting games in the SEC this week. I mean, you've got, we mentioned Florida LSU. This one, I think Ole Miss Arkansas could be a really interesting game in the SEC this week. So we shall see. Let us, before we move down the Megaboard a little more, I want to open a pack. We haven't ripped a pack on the show in a while.
Yeah,
our friends at Panini hooked us up with some Luminance cards, and go to PaniniAmerica.net to start your collection. And so you can buy boxes of Luminance like this. You can buy team sets like the Ohio State team set. But we're going to rip this pack and see if we get anything great, because we've got the thing I love about this now is these are NFL players, but a lot of these cards are them in their college uniforms, which that's how I choose to remember these guys. Yeah. But we got a Drake May, Jeff Blake. That is a blast from the past. Ari, trivia question. Where did Jeff Blake go to college?
I don't know the answer to that. Are you kidding me?
East Carolina.
I know he played for the Bengals.
Where did he go to high school?
Yeah, I don't know.
Seminole High School in Sanford, Florida, one of my high school's rivals. Fortunately,
I knew that.
Jeff Blake is older than me. I didn't have to play against him, but I was
Jeff
1-1
playing in the NFL
on varsity.
In the 90s, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Got a Trey McBride.
Dog.
Jamison Williams.
Dog.
The original Ohio State's receiver room is too crowded. I got to go somewhere else.
Dog.
Tyler Shook in his Louisville uniform.
That one's
maybe we see him.
That one numbered?
This one is numbered. Yes.
Yeah, you got to look out for that.
Numbered 299.
Yeah, I put that one in a sleeve. That's a rookie quarterback. That number rookie quarterback cards usually hit pretty good.
Got another number here. Zy Alexander, auto, coming from LSU. Got an unforgettable Michael Penix Jr. Oh, look at it, Riley Leonard. Who drafted Riley Leonard? Who picked up Riley Leonard out of college?
Who did? I don't even know. You're putting me on the spot
Colts.
today. The Colts, that's right.
I don't think I knew that either. All right.
In the 6th round. Yeah.
Oh, here's a guy we interviewed at the Senior Bowl. Had a lot of fun talking to him. Mason Taylor, former LSU tight end.
Yeah, that's
he's a New York Jet.
Yeah.
One of producer Rivers' favorite all-time players. James Pierce Jr., former Vols edge rusher, now an Atlanta Falcon. So there we go. So my Tyler Shook is the one I'm holding out of this. That's
the rookie quarterback numbered cards fly off the shelves in resale. So anytime you can get a rookie quarterback numbered, whether or not you think he's going to be good, there are plenty of people out there that do think he's going to be good. So, it's a good.
I watched Spencer Rattler the other day. I think Tyler Shook may get his chance at some point.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler was selling this offseason because he got named the starting job. And people, if you're going to be a starter, I think at some point, like putting that up on eBay or something the week he's going into the game, if you're not a believer, is a good idea because people like numbered rookie stuff. And let's be honest, the cards that tend to hold the most value or go big in a big way are the quarterback cards, which is why I'm sitting on this one here. I've already showed it, but it's still sitting here. We got DJ Lagway, Prism Draft Picks autograph graded to 9. And then I've got this bad boy right here too. Never give up. Daniel Jones.
Ooh.
Daniel Jones. It's a 2019 Panini Select Dragon Scale Prism numbered to 88. So, I buy the dip. I thought that
Danny Dimes looked very good. Now it may just be the Dolphins stink, but Danny Dimes looked really, really good on Sunday. Okay,
you know what the best chance about being 1-0 is? A chance to go 2-0, and that's
exactly right. Visit PaniniAmerica.net to start your collection today. Ari, back to the Megaboard. A really interesting thread from We Are SC, which is our USC site, and we haven't talked much about USC this year, and it's really that they have not gotten to play anybody of consequence yet. Although, they played Georgia Southern, which was Clay Helton returning to USC. We would have said a bunch if that game had been competitive, but it was not. USC destroyed Georgia Southern. Jade Mayavas looked really good so far this year. So a poster named Trumpet posts that USC has an 0-14 record versus Central and Eastern time zone in the last 14 games. So the last 14 games that USC has played in the Central time zone or the Eastern time zone, they are 0-14. Now, a lot of these are Notre Dame games. And really the only unforgivable one is losing to Maryland last year. They also lost to Minnesota last year, which I don't consider that an unforgivable because I thought Minnesota was pretty good last year. They lost to Michigan last year in the Eastern time zone. We've talked about that game quite a bit. That's the 2-minute drill all on the ground. But I don't know that this looks bad. And I think this is why Trumpet posted this. It looks bad, but I don't think you really take much from this because
BC's in there too,
against
but I don't
really good teams.
BC was good in 14 or not. I have no record.
Yeah. Texas, Alabama in the Cotton Bowl, or in the season opener.
Yeah, because every time that they were in the Pac-12, anytime they played a non-con game on the road, they were typically playing against a really good team or of a neutral game. So yeah, I don't know. They are really hyping up this Purdue matchup on TV with the promos, and I love it. USC is a 21-point favorite, and at a certain point, we haven't really spoken much about USC's first 2 weeks, but Jaden Mayava is out there slinging the ball.
They look great. I'll be the first to tell you, they look awesome the first good. 2 weeks.
I don't know when the point comes where we have to have a serious discussion about whether or not USC has been undervalued this offseason, but every week where they go through and beat the crap out of somebody and put up some great offensive numbers. Jacoby Lane, did you see that catch he had on Saturday? That one-handed. Yeah. There's things going on in Southern California, and maybe this is where they should be operating a little bit under the radar. No college football playoff discussions, and let's just see if Lincoln Riley can turn it around. But far,
the thing is, they're going to be in the discussion pretty quickly if they're winning in the Big Ten. So
we spent a little time talking about them in the offseason, and rightfully so. And maybe it'll be nice to actually underhype USC a little bit and be wrong. But
Purdue's a good way to ease yourself into Big Ten play. Now, one thing that I find interesting about this game, though, so Purdue's first-year coach is Barry Odom, who obviously came from UNLV. Barry Odom was Jade Mayava's head coach in 2023.
Wow.
So, and Barry Odom obviously is a defensive-minded guy. He'll be helping design the defense for Purdue this week. So any kind of things he knows from having coached Jade Mayava. Now, Jade Mayava has been with Lincoln Riley for a year plus. Lincoln Riley is a very good quarterbacks coach. Any habits that Barry Odom may want to exploit, Lincoln Riley may have already coached out of Jade Mayava. But I do find that piece of it interesting. I'm not really concerned about USC in this game. I realize it's 21-point spread. I don't care if they cover the spread. We're not picking this game. I think they're going to win this game. I think the 1-4. It'll be 1-14 in the Eastern and Central time zone since 2013 after this one.
But if you're a Central time zone, Eastern time zone conspiracy theorist, you might want to look at the schedule because they go to Illinois in 2 weeks. So that's going to be
that's a much bigger challenge.
September 27th. That's a game that we're going to get. I think we'll find out a lot about both of those teams. That's a very good game on the 27th that I'm looking forward to seeing. Bum, 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 bum. You know that bum, bum, da, 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 da. That's cool.
Oh yeah.
I've never been to Illinois or Champaign, Illinois, without it being windy and rainy. But hopefully USC can get there and let me know what the sun.
We were there last year on our way to Wisconsin for the Alabama-Wisconsin game, and
it was
there was no good reason for it to be cloudy and overcast, but it was, and it was raining.
I've never seen the sun in Champaign, Illinois. Also, Champaign, Illinois. Their stadium's a wind tunnel. I don't know if you know that, but I covered like 4.
It also has a new name.
It has a new name, yeah.
They $100 million donation. We'll get that for you.
Geiger or whatever. I saw that. I covered a lot
but
of
it's still
Ohio
Memorial
State
Stadium. So
in Memorial Stadium, where the total passing attempts for Ohio State during the Jim Tressel era was like 11, and everyone's like, "It's a wind tunnel! It's a wind tunnel!" It's like, okay.
Hey, it didn't bother Kurt Kittner one bit.
Yeah, dude. If it's a wind tunnel, then the USC might have some issues. But Jaden Mayava is 31 for 42 with 6 touchdowns and 707 passing yards so far this year. We had some discussions in the offseason and some thoughts of, hey, would USC be interested in a transfer quarterback potentially? USC did not make any moves. And maybe there's a reason for that. So let's just keep them on the radar. I'm excited to see where they're headed. If they make the playoff in year 4, I'm going to be really, really mad.
Well, yes, because it cost you $1,000 if they didn't make the playoff in 3 years of Lincoln Riley. And it's interesting. I was thinking about our forced patience conversation yesterday and where Lincoln Riley fits into this. But
he also
Lincoln Riley was good right out of the gate at USC.
Right. They went
like they were
game year 1.
Yeah.
Give us homework. I have homework for people, and USC doesn't apply to this because they've been good at times so far underneath his leadership. But a team that has had a bad few seasons out of the gate under a new head coach that broke through in year 4 or 5. I don't even know if I can come up with one. But USC is not in that category. This is a team that should have been good out of the gate and was good out of the gate and had a lull. And now the question with USC, Andy, is can they pull themselves off the mat and get back to where people thought they could be? Because I still believe that the pieces are in place and the things are like they're recruiting like gangbusters right now. If they can sign this class, have a good season. Like I still think the pieces are in place for USC to be a national championship ceiling type program. I've lost faith in them the last few years. Let's see if they can earn some of that back.
I'm very excited to see this because they've been so good so far. And we'll find out if it's just the competition. Barry Odom as a defensive mind, I really like. I don't know if the roster's anywhere near where he needs it to be at Purdue to put up a fight in this game, but I do want to see what kind of game plan he puts together for Lincoln Riley and for his former quarterback, Jade Mayava. I think that's really interesting. One more before we go, Ari, on the Megaboard. Let us go to our friends at Husker Online, our Nebraska site, and this has nothing to do with the Huskers, by the way. This is a post from Dan OAZ. The thread title is Livvy Dunne, former LSU gymnast, obviously. Apparently, I'm officially an old. I'm tired of seeing her in a bathtub. That is all. Carry on. And I thought about this, and I am not here to bury Dan OAZ, though. I will point out that a few replies down in the thread, somebody goes, You know he's talking about Sydney Sweeney and not Livvy Dunne, right?
I was going to say I have not seen any pictures of Livvy Dunne in a bathtub, but I also don't want to get fired. So
apparently there is one. But here's where this is where this took me, and you're not there yet because your daughter is very young, about to turn 4. You're not thinking about we're looking at homecoming dresses right now. There's enough fabric on these homecoming dresses to maybe make a belt for me.
Yeah.
I don't like this. Like the 25-year-old Andy who would have been like, he would have seen a picture of someone like Livvy Dunne or Sydney Sweeney in a bathtub and like, oh, wow. Now just goes, put some clothes on. So what do your parents think?
We are different in age. Livvy Dunne is objectively a very good-looking person.
Yes.
But I do feel like now that I'm 38 years old, when you and I are on college campuses and we are walking into football games, and obviously walking into a football game in a college atmosphere when you're a college kid.
Your head is not on a swivel like it was when you were a single man in your 20s.
When you're 22 years old walking around, there are beautiful girls everywhere. But now when I see college girls, they look like children to me. And I don't know if that's because I'm just getting older or what, but like I'm not in that mind frame.
It's because you're old. Dano AZ is actually speaking for all of us, and I feel bad because the folks on some of the folks on the board did make fun of Dano for this. I will not. I stand with you. Like yes, we're old,
but also
that's it. That's it.
Listen, and I'm going to put my career on the line here. Sydney Sweeney is a little bit older.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get tired of seeing a picture of
her. She's
her.
Close to 30, right? That's okay, right?
She's a very attractive woman, and I have no problem looking at Sydney Sweeney in a bathtub. But also think that being horny online is a really bad look, and I'm not going to do that. So, whatever you want to look at on the internet is your prerogative. Hopefully it's our show though. Like hopefully that's number one. And then what you do in your spare time after that is your prerogative. But
that's exactly right.
I feel like sometimes you pull things into the show that are like, how far is Ari going to push this before I've got to get out of here? I pushed it as far as I'm willing to go.
I don't want to get into my process. We love you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.